Walters is back open to full capacity with bar service and their ever so popular self-pour beer wall. Think you've got what it takes to pour a perfect pint? Walters is the place to give it a shot. From micro to macro and lunch to brunch, Walters is the place to be in Navy Yard. Reservations now open for the entire Nats homestand over at opentable.com.
Walters is a great option this Memorial Day weekend, whether you're going to a game or just want to hang out and watch the NBA playoffs with friends.
The swing and a fly ball did well to left center field. This is way back. Schwarber to the bullpen fence, looking up, and it is gone. Goodbye, a two-run homer for Avisal Garcia on a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Midway across the visitors' bullpen, and the Brewers break out on top using the long ball. After the two-out walk to Yelich, a two-run homer, it's Milwaukee 2 and Washington nothing.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Sunday, May 30th, 2021, Part 1, along with Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of MASNsports.com. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Well, so much for an upbeat and uplifting 9-game homestand for the Nationals. The homestand got off to such a great start with that 3-game sweep of the Orioles, but the Nats now 1-4 since the 3-game sweep of the O's. We'll get to Game 2 of Saturday's doubleheader on the next installment of the Nats Chat podcast, but this installment of the pod is going to focus on Game 1 of the 2 7-inning affairs that we had at Nats Park on what was a cold, rainy, and windy, unpleasant day at Nats Park in more ways than one. So Game 1 of the doubleheader sweep by the Milwaukee Brewers was a 4-1 7-inning loss on Saturday afternoon. Yet another punchless offensive performance by the Nats. Just 4 hits and a walk. 0 for 1 with runners in scoring position. Yes, they were facing a guy who's having a good season in Freddie Peralta. But it was another game in which the Nats offense did next to nothing. Mark, I feel like we have had this conversation before.
Yeah, I think we have, and I think we're going to have it again in a few minutes after we finish this podcast and do the next one, because there's some similar things going on here. Let's just start off by saying this. I know you gave your support the other day for the 7-inning games. Well, if I'm the Nationals, I never want to see another 7-inning game again, because they are now 0-5 this year in 7-inning games. Now, I don't know if that would make a difference if they had an 8th and a 9th as well. Not the way they're hitting, I don't think it would help them win. But the 7-inning games are not working for them, and it certainly didn't work on this day. That first game, kind of like the game the other night against the Reds, there just was nothing going on offensively. They got into a hole early. Not a huge hole, but the kind of hole that for this team feels really hard to dig out of. And it just never got to a point that you thought to yourself, okay, I think they could maybe pull this thing out. They might get something going. No, they just never really did. And that, unfortunately, has been a recurring theme for them for a while now.
There's no doubt. You know, it's interesting with these games because you had the second game, of course, on Fox. And it's always interesting to me to see what the national broadcasters have to say about your local team. And one of the things the national broadcasters for the Nationals game kept harping on was, you know, this Nats team is number 1 in the National League in batting average. And sure enough, that's true. The Nats came into games on Saturday, number 1 in the NL with a .254 team batting average. And actually, it's not just that. The Nats came into the day 4th in the NL in team on-base percentage, 6th in the NL in team slugging percentage. The numbers aren't good, but across baseball, the numbers aren't good offensively. So it's a weird deal because the just raw sort of like basic offensive stats aren't that bad. But the Nats, of course, have been wretched when it comes to hitting with runners in scoring position, have not been good when it comes to hitting home runs. And sure enough, we kind of saw all of this once again on display on Saturday. I thought Saturday was in a lot of ways the low point of Juan Soto's season. And I want to get your take on that, especially with what went down in game number 1. So he goes 0 for 3 in game 1. He grounds into an inning-ending 4-6-3 double play in the bottom of the third, after which he slams his helmet into the dirt behind first base. Not the first time we've seen visible frustration from Soto recently. We've seen a lot of bad plate appearances from Soto recently. You know, for years with Soto, it's been kind of like he's so great, he's never really been in a slump. I think it's safe to say at this point, he is in the first true slump of his career. And it's a weird slump because he's hitting more or less for average, he's getting on base, but the power is El Zilcho right now. And I think he's starting to wear these struggles. We're seeing these struggles manifested in terms of how he's reacting to them.
Yeah, absolutely correct. I asked him about it afterwards. He had acknowledged the frustration. He said he knows he's got to be better than that, not to show it like that, but you can tell that he is feeling it. I mean, that was the one moment in the game that you said, okay, they actually got themselves what you want. 2 on, 1 out, Juan Soto at the plate. and he grounds into a double play. And yet again, a hard hit ball, 100.6 miles an hour off the bat, but no elevation to it. And this is the story of his season right now. It's that he cannot drive the ball in the air. He is barreling up way fewer balls than he did last year and the year before that. It is something that he's working on with Kevin Long. It's something that is very much on his mind. I asked him directly, because we brought this up the other night, is there any chance that your shoulder is affecting you at the plate? He said it is not at all. It's not affecting him in the field either. He said his shoulder feels great. That is not the problem. Take it for what it's worth or not, I don't know. It would certainly make sense if that was preventing him from maybe getting under the ball and driving it. But he and the Nationals keep pointing to this idea of he's not getting out in front of it. He's letting the ball travel too deep. Therefore, he's hitting the ball with top spin instead of backspin, not getting under it, and everything's going into the ground. So on one hand, you say that seems like a very small thing that should at some point be fixed, and all of a sudden this turns for him and the switch comes on. On the other hand, you say, why is this still going on? This shouldn't be happening. Something's wrong that it's leading to all this. And it's not like this has just been going on for a week or two. This has basically been all season, but certainly since he came back from the IL. And that, to me, above all else, as much as we talked about Bell and Schwarber and Castro and everyone else, that right there to me is the number one reason they are not scoring runs. Their best hitter, one of the best hitters in the league, is not performing at all like we are used to.
Yeah, and it's become especially pronounced, I think, over the last few weeks. And that's top three batters in that 4-1 Game 1 loss to Milwaukee on Saturday. Trey Turner, Juan Soto, Josh Bell, a combined 0 for 8 with one walk. It was another game in which the offense did next to nothing. You know, you go up and down the lineup for the most part. You know, like Bell 0 for 3. Alex Avila was the starting catcher, 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. The big hit that the Nats did get in Game 1 was another shore bomb.
Swinging a long drive to right. Forget about it. This one headed into the stratosphere. Third deck home run. Section 236 for Schwarber.
And I tell you what, if nothing else, we have now a handful of truly memorable home runs from Kyle Schwarber to right field this season at Nationals Park. That was some shot that he had. 1-out solo homer to the upper deck, the third deck at Nationals Park in right field in the bottom of the fourth. The homer going a projected 439 feet per StatCast. I know the two walk-off homers were huge bombs earlier this season. That might have been number one, though, just in terms of the awe-inspiring nature of the home run. That was something, an upper deck, a third deck home run for Schwarber in that game on Saturday afternoon.
And he's going to get a red seat painted in his honor for it, as they do up there. Bryce Harper's got a few of them. Adam Roche has at least one. And I'm blanking on who the other ones are now. But yeah, it's a special thing. It doesn't happen very often to hit one up there, even though both of his walk-offs officially traveled farther than those did because they were to right center field. And one of them, remember, reached the concourse above the second deck. So this is what they knew they were getting with Kyle Schwarber. He's not a perfect hitter, and he's a very streaky hitter, but when he gets a hold of one, he really gets a hold of one. He doesn't get cheated at all. He's not hitting wall scrapers. And that was a jaw-dropping one to watch, to say the least. You just wish it could come with somebody on base and could have produced more damage than just a solo homer in a game that they lost 4-1. But hey, like we've been saying, Bell and Schwarber are not really the problem right now. They're not perfect, but they're not the problem. They're doing kind of what they were supposed to do all along. The problem is the guy hitting in front of them.
Yeah, that's been a real issue. Andrew Stevenson did have a couple of hits in Game 1 as well, including a bunt single to lead off the bottom of the third, but just not nearly enough happening with the Nats offensively, especially facing a pitcher in Freddie Peralta, who, you know, he's not a huge name on the marquee, but Peralta's been good the last two seasons. He's in the midst of a very nice 2021, and that certainly showed with his effort on Saturday afternoon. He gets the complete game, which I guess technically you have to say you pitch 7 innings in a 7-inning game. That is a complete game. It feels kind of weird to me, though, that we call it a complete game, but whatever you want to call it, he was good. 1 run in 7 innings with 7 strikeouts. Hey everyone, Al Galdi here to tell you about FanDuel. So we've all had that dream, right? Tie game, bottom of the 9th, bases loaded. Well, on FanDuel Sportsbook, you get more than one shot to swing for the fences because FanDuel is letting you place your first bet risk-free. That's right. New users get up to $1,000 back in site credit if your first bet doesn't win. and it only gets better from there. Once you have an account, you'll have access to same-game parlay insurance all season long. That's up to $25 back in side credit each day if your same-game parlay bet falls one leg short. This way you can combine multiple baseball bets for an even bigger win. Games on Sunday afternoon include the Orioles at the Chicago White Sox at 2:10. The O's seeking to avoid a 13th consecutive loss, but starting Keegan Aiken against the former Nationals prospect Lucas Giolito. Aiken has struggled this season. Giolito has 23 strikeouts over his last 20 innings. White Sox certainly look like the play. There's a reason that FanDuel Sportsbook is America's #1 sportsbook. The app is simple to use. They've got great odds on all different betting markets, unique fun bet types like same-game parlay and always-on promotions to let you get more action out of every game day. And when you win, FanDuel will pay you your winnings in as little as 24 hours. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code CHAT to get in on the action. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code CHAT.
21 plus and present in Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, or West Virginia. First on my real money wager, only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site. Credit that expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 1-800-9-WITH in Indiana. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia. Tennessee, 1-800-889-9789, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net.
Are you interested in buying or selling your home? Support for Nats Chat comes from Rachel Levy of Compass Real Estate. By focusing on the personal parts of the real estate process and using technology to simplify the rest, Rachel seamlessly guides her clients through their experience. Rachel uses her deep local knowledge and exceptional customer service to advocate for her clients all across D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. To learn more, follow her on Instagram at RealEstateRachel.
Hey everyone, Tim Shover's here to tell you again about Sunday Scaries CBD gummies. Sunday Scaries is here to hook up our listeners for your first order. Go to sundayscaries.com and type in Nats Chat, that's one word, in the promo code to get 25% off your first order. Again, it's sundayscaries.com. When you enter the promo code at checkout, type in Nats Chat to receive 25% off your first order. They have plenty of options, including oils, gummies, and bath bombs. What's a bath bomb? I'm not quite sure, but sundayscaries.com can bring you up to speed. I've been using the gummies, which helps me fall right asleep. Sometimes I don't sign off for the night until 3 a.m. or later. So Sunday Scaries is a big help. So if you're someone who needs help chilling out after a long day of work, Sunday Scaries is a great option for you. And Sunday Scaries appeals to a wide range of people, whether you're a stressed out parent, overworked college student, or everything in between. To recap, sundayscaries.com, promo code NATSCHAT to save 25% off your first order.
Getting set to go to the third inning in game one of a day-night split doubleheader. The Brewers leading the Nationals 2-0. And apparently, Luis Garcia has cramped up. And they're out there working on his right hamstring. He sat down on the outfield grass. National Director of Athletic Training, Paul Lassard, is out there working on the right hamstring.
Luis Garcia, starting second baseman of that game, but leaving due to hamstring cramping. Do we know anything more about Garcia's status?
Not yet. He's going to go for an MRI on Sunday morning, and they're going to find out more. This was weird. Nobody really saw what it was because it happened in between innings while he's just standing out there as they're doing their warm-ups. And the first thought was, because it was more so in game one than game two, it was raining and very wet out there. And you thought, oh no, did he slip on the wet grass? Did he twist something? Did he sprain something? And no, it sounds like he was already feeling some cramping in the hamstring before he went out there. And just during the course of those warm-ups, he felt it much worse to the point that he had to go down to the ground. And I mean, if you watch the way Davey Martinez and Paul Lassard, their head trainer, had to help him off the field, barely putting any weight on it, you thought, oh my God, something bad just happened. Now we'll see. Maybe it is just a cramp and the MRI comes back fine and he's good to go. Obviously, they didn't make a roster move yet, but that looked really bad and it's unfortunate. In the moment, it had me and I think a lot of people wondering, should they really be playing this game right now under these conditions? But afterward, everyone said that it was fine, didn't affect them, that they were okay to play through it. I mean, it looked miserable. I can tell you it felt miserable, but they're saying that it was fine, that they were able to play through it and that didn't really affect them.
Yeah, it's amazing for all of the agita regarding the weather on Saturday. Nary a weather delay on Saturday. Now, it wasn't good at all with the weather, but there were no rain delays, and that's actually got these two games in terms of the two 7-inning affairs, 2 losses. All right, so it wasn't just the Nats offense that was bad in Game 1 on Saturday afternoon. It also was Patrick Corbin. Patrick Corbin had another clunker of a start in this 4-1 7-inning loss to the Brewers. 4 runs in 5 innings on 4 hits, which were a cycle hit by the Brewers, a homer, a triple, a double, and a single. Also issued 2 walks. He did record 5 strikeouts over the 5 innings, but he threw just 47 strikes versus 31 balls over 78 pitches. And, I said after Corbin's last start, that outing against the Orioles last weekend, the 6-5 win on Sunday afternoon, 4 runs, 5 2/3 innings, 11 hits. That to me, just for me personally, and my perception of Corbin's season was a turning point of, enough with this, well, he's looking better, he's doing this, he's doing that. Like, no, he's in the midst of a bad season. That was a bad outing against a bad team that wasn't even starting its best player that day, and Cedric Mullins. And here you have Corbin on Saturday against the Brewers. And the Brewers are not a bad team, I get that. But this was another rough outing for him, and there's been way too many of these this season and going back to last season. He gives up 2 runs in the top of the first, a 2-out full count walk of Christian Yelich, who was not the same player he was a few years ago, had Yelich down at 1.12, couldn't put him away. Then gives up a 2-out, 2-run homer by Avisail Garcia to left field. Corbin then issues another walk, a 9-pitch walk of Lorenzo Cain, had him down at 1.12, ends up putting him on base. Then he gives up 2 runs, Corbin does, top of the third, leadoff double by Colton Wong, 1-out RBI triple by Yelich down the right field line into the right field corner, and then an RBI ground out by Garcia. And what was really disturbing about the 2-run third to me was this, and I know you noted this on Twitter. The leadoff double by Wong came on a mere 88.3 mile per hour 4-seam fastball by Corbin. That's frightening, okay? And I know that his velocity wasn't at that level throughout the outing, but his velocity was down big time last season. We've seen it down at various points this season. He's not striking guys out the last 2 years like he did the previous 2 years. This is one of these things that kind of can be a flashing neon sign of it. It's not just that he's going through like a mechanical problem. He's not the thrower of the baseball that he was just a few years ago. I mean, I think we need to be concerned here about Patrick Corbin. He's having a really bad season. He's now 10 starts into the season, and he's not putting himself together here.
His fastball is getting hit. That's basically what this boils down to. His slider's been all right. Now, as we've noted before, the slider's only effective when the fastball is being located. He's not walking as many batters now, but he's getting hit, and it's almost always on the fastball or the 4-seamer or the sinker. The home run was on one, the double, and I believe the triple was as well. And that's troubling because there's not some extra gear just waiting to come out on this fastball. Again, now the 88-mile-an-hour one, it raised my eyebrows too, and he came back and he threw 92 later that inning. So I don't know that particular pitch, if he took something off it or what. But in the bigger picture here, he just does not have a fastball that can get hitters out. He basically just has to hope that the fastball can be located well enough to get ahead in the count and then go to his slider to get hitters out. And as we've been saying all along, that's his one path to success. There's no other way that he goes about this. And that's the problem, is that he has only one path to success. And if it's not all in sync and everything's working, these are the results you get. So I don't know where it leaves him moving forward. He actually sounded a little more encouraged by this than he has some of the other ones. I think because he had some good innings sprinkled in there. He struck out the side in the second against the bottom of the lineup. And he finished pretty strong. But if you aren't throwing your fastball that hard, and it's getting hit hard when you put it over the plate, that's a tough way to go about life in the big leagues. And when you only really have one other pitch that you can go to. So I don't know what the long-term answer is there for him, but it's not a good situation for him right now.
I mean, Patrick Corbin, 10 starts into this season, has an ERA of 6.23, okay? That's what we're looking at. And you can say, well, this outing was okay, and that outing was better, and he did this here, and he did that there. He's got an ERA of 6.23 over 10 starts. That's a 30-year season, right? You figure 30 starts, give or take, for a starting pitcher if he stays healthy in a year. He's at 6.23 so far. I mean, can he get himself together? Sure he can. I mean, he's better than this. You got to think that he's better than this. We, of course, saw him be so much better than this in 2019, but off a bad 2020, he's been even worse so far this season. And I don't know that there's like a clear-cut answer in terms of like how he gets on track. There are so many things we can harp on in terms of why the Nats are where they are. This is one of them, that this guy, $140 million contract, we're only in year 3 of that deal. He's supposed to be a very good number 3 starter for you. And he's pitched like a bad number 5 starter so far this season. And another rough outing on Saturday afternoon. because it was just a 7-inning game, the Nats only needed to use one reliever. It was Kyle McGowan, who has had an interesting last few days here. Just got optioned to AAA Rochester on Thursday as the corresponding roster moved to Tanner Rainey being activated off the COVID-19 injured list. But McGowan was the Nats' 27th man for the doubleheader on Saturday, so he was back up, and he looked good. He tossed 2 perfect innings with a couple of strikeouts. So I saw you note the recent transactions for McGowan. It's like every other day, this guy's being called back up or sent back down.
Life as the 27th man on a 26-man roster is not as glamorous as you think. It is a rough life going back and forth AAA to the big leagues. The worst position somebody can be in is to still have options, and McGowan is that guy. Every year it's somebody is the one who has to get sent up and down whenever they need an arm, and then they get sent back down when somebody else comes back. It's not pleasant. I guess the only saving grace right now is at least AAA's in Rochester and not in Fresno, because that would be a miserable experience flying back and forth across the country. But you feel for guys like that. And I try to remind people all the time that these are human beings with families. And as much as we harp on, oh, this guy should be sent down, this guy should be called up, there's a lot more to it than that. Their lives get upended regularly to do this. They're moving in and out of apartments, their spouses, their girlfriends. Others are helping them, get all their stuff together. It's not an easy life. Now, he's being well compensated for it when he's in the big leagues, and he's pitched well when he's been up here. But this is the life for some of these guys who are on the fringe of the roster, and it's not the same as those who are making $140 million in the big leagues.
If lovely Fresno was still the Nats AAA affiliate, a guy like McGowan would be being sent back and forth between the major league level and Harrisburg, right? They wouldn't be doing this with him at Fresno, right?
Yeah, probably. That's why they did make a point, well, I guess in 2019 now, because there was no minor leagues last year, to keep a certain number of more veteran guys who you knew you might need to call up in a pinch. They kept them at Harrisburg at AA for that reason. So they always had a catcher there, an infielder there, a reliever, the big league ready guys. And I think that's why that team was better than most AA teams, because they had some players with some real experience there. Fortunately, they don't have to do that anymore, and they're okay with Rochester, and it's not that difficult of a trip to make. But, it still wears on you when it's happening every couple of days back and forth. And that's been the case for McGowan so far this year.
Hit us up. Tell us what you think. There's a lot to get into right now with the Nationals. It is a frustrating watch with this team offensively. You can tweet us at Nats_chat. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com, including emailing us your voice memos, your takes, your frustrations, your anger. You got venom to spew it at us via a voice memo. Just record yourself saying whatever you want to say on your smartphone, and then email that to us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget, Nats Chat Podcast t-shirts are available. Great looking shirts. You can get them by going to natschatpodcast.square.site. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We'll talk to you next time, which will be part 2 for Saturday on the Nats Chat Podcast.
Hudson sets. Rendon to the right of the cutout at third. Here's the pitch. Swinging a fly ball, center field. Robles going